Hello, Diane. Diane Swan. It's so good to see you again.
Thank you, Kate, for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here.
I'm very excited to be here. So again, thank you for the invitation. Very thrilled to get our message out.
Absolutely. Well, you have so many messages. I don't think you just have one message. I think you
Sure.
have several. So you're currently a first grade teacher at Niantic Center School.
Yes, I am.
And you just survived. I have to say survived because I don't think it was an easy process. You just had the entire school building renovated.
Yes, a long overdue renovation project, but the long run, it was well worth it. And again, I think with the recognition that Niantic Center received, it just showed the resilience of not only the faculty, but also the children. So
you guys you just got a recognition? I'm not sure I'm aware of
we
that.
Did. So
tell me, please.
I don't remember the exact title, but East Lyme, for a Niantic Center, we were recognized, I believe, our percentage was like 95%, and I forgot the exact
for
title.
Achievement, if
For
I'm not
achievement,
mistaken.
yes. It's not just academic achievement, but they look at the entire programs that we do, what we offer children, and additional services that are provided to them. So it was a huge accomplishment during the construction project.
And it was during the construction project. I'm sorry, I have to underscore that because people are walking around with helmets on their head, they have drills and bits in their hands, and commotion, distraction, and your
classroom relocation during that time.
Classroom.
So there was a lot, and like I said, children are more resilient than we expect them to be. And I think if we just take their lead, we learn so much from them as far as what needs to happen during the course of a day. So.
Oh, well, I applaud you for that because that's huge. And to maintain their attention and focus and still get the academic gains that you want them to see, all amidst is the correct word I want, right?
Right.
Amidst all the dust and the plastic sheltering that you put up to make it so that it's doable.
Well, it was really nice because Superintendent Newton ended up ordering for all of the elementary students in the district little construction hats. And so they were the plastic hats, and we saved them and utilized them. So when we did addition, we did construction addition, and we used actual levels as the equal sign. So to make it fun and interactive for them and tie in the construction project.
I never knew that.
Yeah, so
I
it was
love
fun.
that.
Yeah.
You're so creative, too.
So.
Which brings us to why we're really here today. I wanted to get to know you a little bit more, and I applaud you because you've been educating, you've been working as a teacher, not just a couple of years at this point.
No, actually, this is my 24th year in East Lyme.
Wow.
Very proud to say that I went to Niantic Center School as a student, and I'm a graduate of East Lyme High School. I'm also proud to say that my children went to Niantic Center, as did my father-in-law. So we have a little bit of generational history there.
It's a family affair.
It certainly is. It certainly is.
I love that. Where did you teach before you came to East Lyme?
I taught for 2 years down in Kissimmee, Florida, because back when I graduated from Southern Connecticut State University, the jobs for teachers and educators were slim to none. And they had a teach-in down there. I was accepted, offered a job in 5 minutes. We moved 2 weeks later and spent 2 years down there, but knew that my heart and soul was a New Englander.
And your heart and soul is in New England, and now you're here.
Yes.
And you went to East Lyme High School. What was one of your favorite things about East Lyme High School when you were there in attendance?
I think what I loved most about East Lyme is not just the high school itself, but the educational process and the journey, and knowing that a lot of my teachers resided in the town that I lived in, so it was always a very small community. My mom being a single mother, it was wonderful because there was always support for our family during that time. She was a mom of 5 children. And it was wonderful, and I had a lot of great coaches and faculty members that really helped me along the way. And it was a difficult journey being a student with dyslexia when dyslexia wasn't even a diagnosed disability back in the day. It wasn't until I got to college that they actually helped me with some of the learning issues that I had.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so that was...
I didn't know you had dyslexia. I'd never heard that before.
Actually, it was frustrating at first because I just didn't understand what was going on. When I actually stayed back in first grade, it was upsetting to me because I thought I was stupid, and I actually had a teacher call me that, which was...
I'm sorry.
It was horrific.
And it still hurts.
It didn't, you know what, it didn't define me though. And then when I talked to my mom about it, she just said, you learn differently, they just haven't figured it out yet. So that was
Your mom knew.
My mom knew. So that was very telling for me as a student growing up, and the last thing I wanted to be was a teacher, being an educator, because school was not a happy place for me because it was such a struggle and it was very difficult. But like I said, along the way, I had a lot of teachers who embraced me, who helped me over some of these challenges. It made it very easy for me to be able to transition to, college, which was, again, very, very intimidating since I was not a test taker. So I had no intention of becoming an educator at all. My first passion was to become a lawyer and to right all the wrongs in the world.
Oh, well, and I think you are righting some wrongs,
Right.
at least, and I think that's the nice thing about being a teacher is that you can influence and impact so many of the lives. How many kids do you have in your classroom right now?
Right now I have 17.
So you're forming the minds and hearts to some extent. Of course, parents and environment has so much influence, but you're really helping to mold them into better beings, better humans who will care about the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what you do every day. So in some ways, you are righting the wrongs and helping these people, these young people.
Right, and I am very passionate about, making sure that this younger generation, if we can get them at the youngest age where it's a pivotal point in establishing those foundational skills about conservation and being active members of their community. And whether or not you move away and then come back to the town that you were raised in, or you take that foundational skills and then you take that with you to another community and you spread that, that's really, really important to me.
Absolutely. Well, and I think it's just thinking, going back to your roots. And to me, nothing is as comfortable or as nice or as good as the place you call home.
Right.
And if the home is where you actually are living and calling that home, that's beautiful. But sometimes you need to go back to where your roots were actually initially established.
Absolutely.
And that's what you're doing. So when you were at the high school, there was a beautiful planetarium there, if I'm not mistaken.
There was, and actually my infatuation with the planetarium began as a student at Niantic Center and going to the planetarium for the very first time and walking into the room, and back then it was theater seating that was in a circular with the Spitz AP3 projector in the center. And at that point I had the opportunity of meeting Mr. Bloom, who was the planetarium director, and being able to sit in the planetarium and looking up at the dome and watching the constellations appear, learning about sunrise, sunset, and some of the very basic astronomy things that happened as a first grader. And had the opportunity as well when I was a high school student to be able to have a class there. And then Mr. Meyer, who ended up becoming the planetarium director after Mr. Bloom, had that same passion and drive to just really have you focus in on astronomy and what it had to offer.
Nice. And I wasn't aware that as an elementary student that you were able to go and actually tour, and that was just a standard practice, is what I'm inferring from what you're saying at the time.
It absolutely was standard practice, and I have a copy of the original lesson plan that Mr. Bloom had devised that was sent to each of the 3 elementary schools that outlined exactly what the lessons would entail, the objectives, and then also what the student expectations were and the teacher expectations. So it's really nice to see that. It's, of course, in the dittos back then with the
those crank
purple,
machines.
yes,
Did you ever have to
absolutely.
use one of
We
those?
actually, I watched teachers use them. I didn't actually have to use them during my tenure so far as a teacher. But
I did. My first job, I used to have to make dittos, and your hands get really messy.
Yep.
And you probably, I don't know if you ever got to experience this, but people used to smell the dittos.
yeah. Yeah, that was like the tree, as well as being the person that got to roll the chalk, the erasers through to get the chalk out of the erasers.
Oh, we used to
machines.
clap them outside the back door of the elementary school that I went to school at.
Yeah.
Things have changed a little.
Just changed quite a bit. So
Actually changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I digress perhaps a little bit. So
That's
here is
okay.
this, Stars to STEM, and maybe I don't know if we can point out a couple of things. It says Stars to STEM, and tell me, is this a play on words, STEM?
Well, Stars to STEM. So the reason why this whole thing had come
Emerged,
about
yeah.
was because of the fact that I had brought my first grade students, a friend of mine, Sam Harfinist, who is a biology teacher at the high school. His classroom was in the planetarium.
Oh.
So during that time, I had asked if, I was a science coordinator in our building at the time, if we could bring students to be able to see the planetarium, because our first graders were learning about the sun and the moon, and he was more than happy to do that. Unbeknownst to me, because I just must have missed it, when I went into the planetarium for the first time in 2013, I had no idea that the equipment had all been removed And it was just a typical classroom at this point with, you know, some tables and chairs. So it was very overwhelming to me at that point. And then I started asking questions about what happened. And then, you know, lo and behold, it was just, you know, interest in astronomy had dwindled, budget cuts were happening, so things were, you know, coming off a line. So then in 2017, it was brought to my attention that they were going to close the room and they were going to put in a drop ceiling. It would become a storage facility or a resource room. And knowing how it inspired me as a student, that even though my students didn't get to experience the same way I did, it was still very inspirational. So at that point, that became the driving force of what can we do to utilize this asset, because it's not just limited to the high school, it's a regional asset. And that's how we ended up becoming with STARS to STEM. So STARS is Society Takes Action and Risks in the Sciences.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
To science, technology, engineering, and math.
Science, technology, engineering, and math.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And society takes action.
Actions and risks in the sciences. So STEM and STEAM education has really been pushed to the forefront in doing my research to come up with a plan as far as how we could market and save the planetarium at no cost to the East Lyme taxpayers, because they've already paid for it once. They shouldn't have to pay for it again. I spoke with state representatives who said, yes, absolutely, STEAM and STEM are the way to go, but we have no way to fund it. So now if you lots of things are out there now. Business are starting to offer, you know, grants and scholarships for STEM and STEAM education. We now have Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts who are now earning badges for STEM and STEAM.
Oh, beautiful.
So there's a lot of tie-in to the community that goes with it as well. So going back to STARS to STEM Incorporated, in order to be able to get the help that we needed and raise the funds we needed to have a nonprofit.
So you're a nonprofit now.
We are a federally recognized nonprofit.
Well, congratulations,
thank you.
because that's a lot of work too.
It was a lot of work. There was a great group of people that worked very diligently over the course of
You said 2017 or 2013? When did you actually?
2017 was when I first presented to the Board of Education what the plan was, but we actually, it was, it'll be a year this coming March that we've had our 501c3 status.
That's beautiful.
So it's taken away. We tried to get somebody to be our sponsor, but you know there were some legal things, and even though it could have worked, people weren't really on board, so we had to do it. So again, this is everything we had to start from scratch. Our marketing, our publicity as far as getting the word out there, the brochures that we've been working on.
Hold that up, look into the camera so that
the brochures
they can see.
that were made for us, and this was through donations from Mark Prince Valley.
And what is this, Mark Prince Valley? He's a great guy. So
Yes.
what is that picture right there?
So this is just basically a photo that was utilized through just showcasing a planetarium. This isn't the planetarium at East Lyme High School. We do have pictures of our planetarium on the back. It shows you actually where it's located at East Lyme High School on the footprint, and then this is what our current planetarium looks like. We still have the dome, we still have the lighting, but a lot of these things need to be upgraded. So we're trying to raise funds to be able to do that. So
And I was in there a week ago, and they have, I think it's a resource class,
It is
special
right now.
education class that's in there.
Yes.
So the good news is that it's still being heated, the room is being preserved, it's being used, because I
Yes.
think if you leave a room kind of quiet and empty for a while, I'm afraid of mold and spiders and all kinds of things that might happen. So.
Oh, a lot of things. Just, you know, neglect, is, you know, anything could happen and go wrong with the room, especially if somebody's not in and out of that every day.
So I'm glad to see at least that it's being used,
Yes.
so it's warm and alive, so that's
So
good.
this is one of the things that, you know, we've worked with the Board of Education on, because even though the room is being used, we're not saying, you know, that's part of the thing that we've been asked during our time to raise the funds to be able to do this. You know, we're not saying keep everybody out of that room.
No.
Use it for whatever you need to do,
Right.
and then when the time comes, we can give you the exact plan as far as, you know, budget, time, what we need when we need it, so that this way we can work in conjunction with one another.
So what are your big asks right now? You're asking for a projector, is that right?
That's
And
our
you
big
need-
ask right now. So
Okay.
again, the projector that was in the facility that was taken out in 2017 was enormous. I mean, it took up the whole center of the room. So what they have available now are a whole variety of different projectors.
Smaller, more digitalized,
Smaller,
more
absolutely.
compact. Yeah.
The digitalized is, the up and coming. So we went back to Spitz, which was the original company that we had purchased the projector from for
The previous
the
one.
previous, what we had. In the
When was
planetarium.
the first original planetarium? When was it first
The
established?
first
was
one,
when
it
the
came
school?
online in 1971. So when they built East Lyme High School, the first graduating class was 1969, I believe, and
So 3 years after, or 2 years after the school opened, they
Yes.
were able to.
So while they were building the school, the town voted on a planetarium over a pool. Because at that point it was, space exploration was huge. It was in the news all the time. So the voters voted to, when they put on the addition, they were going to put it on with a planetarium.
Nice.
And that's when Mr. Bloom became the first director of the planetarium when it opened in 1971.
Well, this is good history, just local history, just to know
Well,
what happened.
And the backstory with that is pretty incredible because they ran out of funds to be able to finish the planetarium. So Mr. Bloom, as well as Mr. Ball, who was the then principal at East Lyme High School, traveled, I believe, to upstate New York and took the parts of a planetarium that were being
Disseminated.
dismantled, and they loaded it up and they drove it back to East Lyme, and they were able to finish the project off and open the room.
That's dedication.
Yes.
Well, are there planetariums that are closing across the country that perhaps we could do some of that to bring a state-of-the-art kind of projector that you need?
There are planetariums that are coming offline, but they're in the same situation. These are the old projectors. So the new projectors, Everett and Sutherland, the parent company of Spitz, can't really keep them on the shelves. So that's the company that we had contacted to get an estimate. So our big ask right now is really we're looking for donations to be able to purchase the projector. The projector is a nice projector because it's a portable projector, and then also too, the space at the high school, if we use flexible seating, we can get more seats in the room, and then we can utilize it not just for educational purposes, but also for enrichment purposes. So it's not something that would have to be used just during the academic day. We foresee this room being utilized in the evening, on the weekends, in the summertime. So looking at ways that we can generate revenue to give back to the community and the region so that we can keep using it as a resource instead of, our three, education is the biggest.
It's the biggest part of the town budget.
It is.
67% of our town budget goes towards education. I know that. So, and I think people don't understand though, but if you make it a drawing point, make your planetarium, our planetarium, I should say, a drawing point, then everybody can use it. You don't have to be a high school student or an elementary student or a middle school student. You can be
We said it's for all ages,
all
and that's something that
ages.
we have talked about, all ages, and and through the region. We want to be able to utilize the planetarium as the same draw during the summer and other months that the boardwalk does, and be able to put us on the map that way and give Flanders the same boost as far as community and tourism that Niantic gets with the boardwalk and the foot traffic. And if we can do that, we have ideas as far as partnering with different businesses. So we have corporations that we're in the process of sending out letters for corporate asks and private asks and citizen asks. And again, we want it to all come from corporate donors, private donors, and grants that we're looking at, so that this way the taxpayers don't have to be responsible for, picking up the tab to be able to do this. We have people that are willing to donate their time and talents, paint, and helping to do the upgrades that are going to be necessary as far as some of the fire doors and lighting and different things that go with that. Even the audio systems, people have said that they have experience. Retired teachers, Dr. Leslie Brown from Connecticut College, she is one of our, she's on our board now as far as being a contributor. She's an astrophysicist there who has
I
been
met her the other
incredible.
day.
Yes.
She's brilliant.
Yes.
She's genius.
Yeah, and Dr. Amy Cabanas, who also, she's at UConn, and then she also has worked at other universities as well, and her big platform is environmentalism. So really looking at the different things that we can do, and to get everybody from all walks involved in this. We have retired teachers, a whole bunch of individuals who are donating their time right now, and the core group of people that have stuck with us for the last 2.5 years and haven't given up when we've hit a roadblock and persevered, and it's been great.
Well, and I know you've done fundraisers all the time. There was a Facebook fundraiser, I think. You're so generous, Diane. Like, instead of saying, I want a new blouse or something beautiful for yourself for your birthday, you've said, please donate to my passion, which is the planetarium, and bringing that about. So how much were you able to raise for your birthday?
Well, my birthday fundraiser, I was hoping to raise $500, and we ended up raising $750 just through my birthday fundraiser on Facebook.
That's beautiful.
So, yes, Facebook, that's been a great platform as far as donations, because we've been able to put a site up there. We've got a donation tab where people can donate directly through that, and then every 45 days they put a deposit into our account, and it's been wonderful.
That's great.
Yeah,
well, you're making really good progress. I don't know if you feel that or if you get discouraged from time to time, but
to be honest, I'm proud of the progress we've made, but realistically, yes, at times I do get discouraged, but I also have to remember that I have a full-time job.
And
also
you have
am
kids.
a mom. Yeah.
You have children, don't you have two children?
I have two children.
Two beautiful children, if I'm not mistaken.
One daughter who's preparing to go off to college. So
and that's big.
That's a huge milestone. Yeah. So I have one that will be graduating from high school and one that will be going into high school. And my husband is an educator as well. And
he is. I didn't know that.
He's an educator in Salem, and then he also is the park supervisor for the beaches in the summertime. So,
he's busy. You're busy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Do you ever get tired and just have to crash every once in a while?
Sometimes you got to figure out a way where you got to recharge, and but again, when you see the look on children's faces based on what it is that you're able to present them with, and when children come to me and they've been down to the Book Barn in Niantic.
Hold that up close.
And so they've been to the Book Barn in Niantic, and they said that they made their donation and they got their magnets as Planetarium Imaginarium. So I'm hoping that the students that are in my class right now, they'll be able to benefit from the planetarium, and someday they'll say, oh, I remember when Mrs. Swan was working on that project, and here I am. I'm sitting in the planetarium taking a class, and that's my hope.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, and you're making it not about you. You're making it about a bigger vision, about a building that will be a resource. It'll be a magnet for people to come to our area of the state. Some people think of us as a little bit quiet down on the shoreline. There just isn't that much to do. And I think that this would be a huge draw. So there's restaurants in the area. There's a number of really good restaurants that I enjoy. I like to go to Rebecca's and Flanders Fish and East Line Pizza. There's a whole bunch of little spots there that people could go to after.
Or even before, there's the Shack, there's a lot of things. So in looking at this whole vision to begin with, I started talking to some of my friends that are local business owners, one of which has a business in New London. So again, they have the ferry business. So I said, if this could be something that we could link to, night sky, and do something like that, where again, you might have a ferry that goes out and they do something with astronomy and looking at the night sky, because he does the lighthouse tours and things like that.
Perfect.
So there's a lot of different ways that we can connect it. Again, I think the biggest thing is to help people to understand is to really utilize that building during downtime, especially in the summertime. So tourism is a perfect point. But this way, being able to keep the doors open to the schools, they should be used year round, because it is one of the biggest items on the budget. But if there's ways that we can create revenue by opening those doors up and moving towards some STEM classes and some STEAM classes, and offerings not only just for students, but also it could be offerings for educators or anybody else for that matter. So we have some different plans that are in place that, as part of this whole vision that has come about, what would be the next steps? Because again, sustainability is the biggest question that everybody has. What are you going to do to be able to sustain this? So to sustain it, it can't just be educational resources.
No, of course not.
It has to be the enrichment piece as well.
And tourism, I think, is huge. Yeah.
Tourism is absolutely huge.
Well, and I think that what I call low-hanging fruit, I think we live in this area, we have a lot of brilliant people, a lot of engineers, a lot of scientists, and a lot of teachers, and they've all retired. So you look at these people, and you say they're starting to retire, they're getting 60s, 70s, and they're still bright and capable, 80s, 90s, whatever, and have them come and share their resources and their love of either the environment, and using this as an arena, basically, because it is kind of an arena shape to it. I guess you could close off part of the auditorium so that you could have it presented.
Right.
Phenomenal idea, phenomenal resources available. And you're connecting the dots. You're connecting a building, a location, to things in the area, and then bringing more people in, so that it's not our money necessarily. It's people who want to come and have a day.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's, again, that could be something that ends up becoming another flyer that says, these are your choices as a family, some things that you can do. Or, it could be something where a family decides that they want to have, a 50th wedding anniversary party and use the dome to be able to project their life, stories worth telling. There it is, right there on the dome.
I love that.
And then maybe local restaurants offering discounts for a dinner or
Well,
something.
of course, and I'm sure that they would just do that naturally, because if you said, free appetizer or free beverage or whatever, then...
Yep, and it gets them through the door, and again, boosts tourism and helps, all different venues as far as restaurants and business owners and...
Win-win.
Yeah.
And I like tourism. I like the idea of tourism because we don't have to necessarily educate everybody that comes in our door. If they just come and stay for a day, they can enjoy it, spend their money, enjoy the area, but we don't have to take care of the health care and everything else that comes with it. It's just one part of their program and their position.
And we do. We have a lot of hidden assets in East Lyme that people are just really starting to find out more about. And another reason why I like to give back the outdoor stormwater classroom that takes place down at the Hole in the Wall. A lot of people don't even know that we have this educational aspect that's down there. And it was my husband who pointed it out to me, and now we're going on, I believe it's 8 years that we've offered it to all the third graders in the town of East Lyme. And the last, I believe this will be the third year for students in Salem. So all third graders get to come down. They get to learn about the environmental impact that they have on the Long Island Sound.
Well, the long term too, and what's happening, because if you overuse water and don't think about it, then we're using a natural resource that's very important.
Right, and then different things that the town of East Lyme has put in place for future businesses coming in, as far as retention ponds and different trees and different grasses and different things that they have to use to be able to, prevent some of the erosion and runoff that's been happening over the years that we as humans can, rectify.
It's not even important, it's critical. I think it's just absolutely critical.
Yep.
And I just learned recently that there's a testing lab at Mystic Aquarium where you can take water and have it analyzed. And so important that we all are aware of that. And I think your husband might be one of my next guests that I'm going to peg to be on my show.
Yeah, he's a great resource for a lot of different reasons. And, again, so learning more about that and connecting some of those different things that have to do with STEM and STEAM right back into Stars to STEM Incorporated is really, really going to be a nice segue, because it piggybacks one another. And again, like I said, those hidden assets that we have in the town that we just really need to take and capitalize on, so that this way we can promote educational enrichment and tourism within East Lyme.
And we don't need another big box store. We don't need another huge, we don't need another nail salon or pizza place either, right? So we need some of those other places.
More condos, we have to think about the footprint and what's happening.
Open space is really important, clean water, clean air, and a place to learn and to come together. And I think that's what you're proposing. Just real quick, we only have about a minute or so left. Is there going to be an outside access to this?
There already is an outside access to the planetarium.
Okay.
So there's 2 doors that go into the hallway there, and there's also a door that exits from the planetarium right out to the back of the school. So those would just have to be upgraded, and some different fire things. So I met with a contractor. I also met with the fire marshal, the deputy fire marshal at the time, who did a walkthrough and had recommendations. But all of that would be something that we would work with the facility coordinator for East Lyme Public Schools when the time comes. But right now, like I said, our big ask, we need that projector. We need to be able to showcase what it is that can happen in the space and what we're able to do for the region.
What is the cost of the projector?
Right now, it's between $70,000 and $80,000.
And that's doable.
It is doable.
We can find that.
Yep. So we're just going to plug away donation jars and asks and hope for the best and make it happen.
Well, and I'm going to have you back on the show after you have gotten it, and I think that's just going to be a phenomenal day. So thank you so much,
and
Diane.
thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Kate.